Crossroads? The one that was at Crossroads, right?
Yeah, because I knew the one that was on Saturday. I was like, because the one on Friday just blue balls everyone. I'm like, these motherfuckers want to be violent.
Do you remember that like line of girls at the Friday one that they were like sitting on the street and the cops came and like kicked them and shit? Did you see that at all?
I did see some like girls sit on the street and they like fucking sprayed them or some shit.
They had like
I think
signs.
I might have a pic. I think my friend took a picture of that.
Yeah, that was my friend. I went to high school with two of those girls that were there on the street there.
Dude, there were some cops that were there that were definitely like ready for action.
Oh yeah, you could tell.
You're like, I saw one dude like, just like hyped up. I'm just like, this nigga does not need to be here.
He's probably scared, man. He's like, dude, I came here to pull people over on Dodge Street. And
right. He was ready to go. And then like one chick, I mean, honestly, like people are kind of crazy. Like one girl like did like push a cop and then like he like pushed her back and then she freaked the fuck out. But I'm not gonna lie, he was kind of excessive with it, and because he was a big dude, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Oh, make sure you're talking to Mike a little bit. Sorry. Can you hear him okay?
Yeah, I can hear him just fine.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't got to be out here just like manhandling people, bro. So like,
yeah,
it was crazy. But I knew it was like as soon as they closed off the street, I knew shit was gonna pop off. I knew it.
And we're already live, so we'll just roll with it. So yeah,
Bren Circus is here, man. Yeah, we're just hopping right into it.
Yeah, we're just hopping right into it. So what's it feel like to get hit with tear gas?
Oh my god. Okay,
dude, did you shave the day? By the way, sorry. Continue asking. I'll ask you that follow up afterwards.
Does it help with it?
Well, tear gas, the actual gas, it opens up your pores. Mm-hmm. So if you shave like the day before and use, or like the day of and use shaving cream, it makes your fucking like face go like.
See, I am luckily a prepubescent child. I have to deal with a lot of hair, so like this is probably like a month and a half of just like solid growth right now.
I wish that's all it took.
No, so that's not an issue. But honestly,
I can't even do that, man.
It sucked because when I was there, like. I was getting traces of tear gas. So I'm like, this is kind of trash, but like, okay, I can handle this. But then when you get hit with like, you're in the tornado of tear gas, you're just like, like you can't see. Like I was literally running around like this, like just like trying not to run into people. And I found someone with some milk, and I was like in my eyes, and like you can't breathe. And like I was like, dude, am I ever gonna be able to see again? Like it was trash. I was like, I wasn't even really doing nothing. So. Thanks, OPD.
You didn't
OPPD.
Fuck OPPD.
Thanks, OPPD.
We sell shirts that say that in our merch store.
Fuck the power, bro.
Yep, they do keep raising my rates, and I'm sick of it. So
they take days to come fix an outage, man. Yeah. Fuck them motherfuckers.
Like, I wonder if the people did that on purpose, because I saw someone say fuck OPPD, and I thought they were just like making the joke, but then I saw someone actually like spray painted that, and I was like.
Some people can't tell. It's kind of confusing.
I'm pretty sure I've gotten it confused at some point. So I'm not better than anybody. But honestly, at the protest though, like as far as like the tear gassing and like I got hit with one of they have like these bullets that are like
the rubber bullets.
I didn't get hit with a rubber bullet. It was like a pepper bullet.
Oh, pepper balls. Yeah.
Yeah, I got hit one in like.
Did you get hit directly with one or?
Oh no, yeah, I got hit right in the ribs with it. And it's like, damn, and it was honestly like, I'm glad it happened because it was a good example, okay? Because I'm sitting here, like, I'm the type of dude, if I'm gonna go to an event like this, yelling "fuck you," I mean, it has its purpose, but you're not really gonna get your point across, just yelling like "fuck you" to someone for 4 hours,
Sure.
So like, I got some officers that we were off to the side, talking, right? And I'm talking to these fucking cops for like 30 minutes. I'm just like, what the fuck's wrong with y'all? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, basically, you see all these cops out here? You're going to tell me not one's racist? Like, there's not one. Even if, like, you're not racist, you're going to tell me, like, there's not a single one? I'm like, exactly. So we're just talking. And then they're like, see, this is where they're fucking up. They're saying shit that don't make sense. So, like, okay, get off the street. Okay, we get off the street and go on the sidewalk. They throw tear gas on the fucking sidewalk. Like, get in the parking lot. So I'm sitting here talking to the cops. The dude's like, okay, get in the sidewalk. I'm like, all right, bro. I step back, and I'm still talking to the cops. And this dude just hits me with the pepper bullet while I'm talking to like 3 cops. And
seriously?
I'm like, yes. And I'm like, do you see what we're talking about? Like, right. I have been having a conversation with you respectful conversation with you for 15 minutes, and I just got hit with a pepper bullet. And you expect me not to be mad? You know what I'm talking about? So hopefully they fucking learn from that and aren't too institutionalized to be like, well, you know what, he was at the protest. It's like, bro, like, that's why we're pissed off. You know what I mean?
Wasn't there a guy downtown, the Sarpy sheriff, like shot his eye out? He wasn't part of the protest. He was walking by and he got his eye shot out.
I heard about that, but I did not realize that was it.
I would believe it. There's been a lot of videos on the internet of riot police and riot cops just like blatantly fucking up innocent people that weren't even part of the protests.
Well,
like,
who was the guy that got? It wasn't here, but this guy gets shot right in the face with a fucking tear gas canister, like out of one of the guns, just boom, right in the face. Like, could have killed him. Like, yeah.
Probably dislocated his jaw, man. I mean, those things come out with, like, I've shot 40 millimeter smoke things before. Like, those things, if they hit you in the head, would probably kill you.
That's why I didn't even go to the, you know, there's everyone has their position in the revolution, you know.
Right.
I am not a super militant dude. You know what I mean? I know how to use my words. You know, I like to find new ways to say things. So, like, I knew the first day was going to be the healthiest day as far as getting conversation across. And I just, honestly, I feel like the police should even fucking showed up to the event. Like, the first 2 hours was just like, I was so proud of Omaha, Nebraska. It was just like such a moment of just bringing everyone together. And like, I was like, wow, like this is history, you know?
Right.
And all of a sudden,
Gene was so worried, man. Yeah, the crowds got too big. Gene was worried about it turning into a riot, so she made it into a riot.
And you were there, so I had a stomach bug. I actually wanted to go Friday, and then I was feeling better Saturday, and at that point, I'm like, no, Saturday is going to be like a coordinated attack. I'm good. But Friday, yeah, so from the videos I saw, it seemed like the protesters stepped out into the street, and the cops just jumped the gun. Like, they started a riot when they could have just shut the street down for a couple hours.
So exactly,
by shooting the tear gas.
They postured the crowd. It was like, you know, which is dumb. Like, they don't de-escalate. You know, I just feel like every step they took was not a step to make it better.
Right.
You know, and honestly, Brian, if anyone knows me personally, I'm a pretty rational dude. I'm not out here calling like race cars on every single thing. I really truly think like I try to, you know, understand everything. And these motherfuckers was posturing. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was happening was when there was like the sign to walk, whatever, a lot of people will cross the street at one time. And I think there are a couple people who did start to, you know, block the street off, but we were honestly doing a good job of policing ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, you know, stopping people from throwing stuff. We're like, yo, bro, we're here to just be peaceful. So like, I feel like the crowd was really doing a good job of that. And then, but there's also a gigantic miscommunication, I think, because they cut off the street, right? So I'm thinking, oh, like they're doing this so we can all just go in the street, like, and because the whole point of them is so no one blocks traffic, but now there's no traffic, so like it's all gonna go in the street, you know, right? Chant. And then they like all get in this weird formation with their riot gear and shit. And that's the thing, like they just start putting on their gear and they just start setting the narrative for it to turn into a, you know, like, yeah. And then like people start yelling stuff. Of course, there's people antagonizing the cops too. I can't not say that. Not everybody was 100% peaceful.
People were probably pissed though. They see these cops just start getting on this riot gear. Like it doesn't take a quick minute. It's not quick to put on that stuff. It's
it got everyone tensed.
Yeah.
Every sound you hear, they're like, "What the fuck?" So I'm like, they shouldn't even did that. They should have had just no one there. Like we were doing a good job. Everyone was just happy, and then
they kind of did that to themselves throughout history. I mean, everyone knows about Kent State. When you start seeing people show up armed to the teeth, you get worried. You know what I mean? Like
it's in every movie you ever see. It's like if you see it happening, your mind is gonna go to it. It's like, well, there's violence gonna happen. It's just you just know.
Yeah.
My thing that I really applauded about it was like, dude, you just saw like the biggest mix of crowd of people that was down there at that Omaha protest too, man. I was like, fuck yeah. It made me proud of Omaha, like you were, Dion, where I was like, yeah, dude, Omaha getting together. And like, cause it's not like the OPD is like sinless. Like they just had those fucking cops that murdered that Native American dude that
with the taser, right?
Yeah, that got got off of it.
That guy's cousin was there, and he was like, "That was my cousin." And, like he was talking to him, and I was just like, "See," and like it just so much passion was like just in the air, man. Like it really, and I don't know, like it really. I just felt so much more connected to the city of Omaha. You know, like I'm not really big on like symbols and all that stuff, but like I was like dang, I'm proud to be part of the city because we're out here fighting for what we believe. You know what I mean? It was pretty crazy.
That's wild. That's wild as fuck.
It really is, man.
I just
It's
went
cool.
there because I was scared. Honestly, I was like, oh, coronavirus, like crowds, like my grandma
Yeah.
was like 95, I have asthma. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to be there, you know, because like I need to at least be present so I can, you know, say, you know, I want to be, you know, stand for that. But then after a while, when you're there, like you chanting loud, you know,
Yeah.
I'm in front of the cops kneeling, like,
Yeah.
you know, like this ready, like front lines. And I was pissed because this is the thing. There were agitators there. There are people who are just there to be like.
I wanted to ask, what were some of the
Chaos,
things that like the professional agitators were doing? Like what were some specific things they were doing?
So throwing stuff like water bottles. And the thing that really, I was yelling at protesters, bro, because I was really mad because like I said, I'm up front and like the people who are throwing stuff are in the back, you know. I'm like,
and you're gonna be the one that's gonna get
you know what I
maced.
mean? So I'm going out there and I'm just like, I'm going off. Like someone got a picture of me. I'm like, y'all a bunch of fucking bitches. Like you were like, I'm the one up front. Like you need to get up here.
Right.
And, like I'm just going off. People like, damn, this dude kind of crazy. You know what I mean? I was pissed. And then, so when I was sitting there talking to like those officers, you know, just trying to have a conversation with them. And honestly, it just pisses me off when the white people do it. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm like, dude, like
You're
I'm
not the
glad
ones that
you're
are gonna get the
upset.
shit beat out of
Yeah,
them.
Right,
you know,
yeah,
I'm
exactly,
glad
exactly.
you're passionate about this issue, but there's a time and a place to be doing shit. So I'm talking to these cops, like trying to give them my viewpoint, and I feel like they were, you know, trying to listen. You know what I mean? Like I will give them that. I feel like the officers that were there, they were trying to have a dialogue with me. And this dude just comes up, you guys are fucking traitors, you fucking pigs, I'm just like, oh my god.
It was a protester? Or
Yeah,
agitator?
just random, like I'm like, dude, like go over there where like they're actually like there's violence over there. Right now we're talking, like we have a conversation, you know. So I'm like, there's a time and a place for the violence, you know what I mean?
And that's the shitty part is you got people that'll like run to the front and then throw something and then run back into the crowd. And they just use you guys as human shields.
So, I think someone got me on video. I'm like, we got a lot of quarterbacks out here.
It's just like people are so angry about it too. It's like all the people that are throwing stuff and everything just gives fuel to the fires for the people that are like, all these people were doing was rioting. They don't want to do anything except create anarchy. It's like, well, when you got these guys, when you've got like 2% of the people out there that are the bad eggs, like how is that any better than the cops?
It only takes a small number too, you know. And like the thing is, like when you're such a big crowd, like it's so much easier to keep something calm than it is to de-escalate something,
right?
You know, especially with so many people, you know,
people that are like pissed, like
pissed off, and for a very
good
reason. And honestly though, like I think that protest, even though people were like, you know, protesters were being violent at times, you know, but I think, like I said, there's a time for it. And I think it's necessary to have someone like me. Like I said, everyone has their position. To have someone like me who's going to have the conversation, but also someone who is a little bit militant to be like, yo, like this dude's talking to you, but get some shit done about it.
Right.
Or shit's going to be fucked up. And that's why, like, I know a lot of people disagree with the looting. I disagree with it, especially if you're expecting, you know, black-owned businesses and stuff like that's, you know, adverse to the cause.
Right.
But pockets matter, you know. Like if you're burning out Target, you know, like they got some money in legislation, you know, they're gonna make a cause about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's to an extent, and I think too many people try to think there's one way to solve this issue that is systemic racism. But like you have to understand, like it's a very complex, deep thing. Gonna take many avenues and canals, and I think if people were like, you're not going this certain way, you're doing it wrong, which is. I
will say, I think all the looting and everything is a byproduct of just people being really like fed up with it. That's why I haven't been necessarily one to say like, oh, I support all this, but I'm just like, what do you expect, man? People have literally like especially people our generation, we're the ones that are supposed to be like, dude, like we don't want this shit happening anymore. Like we understand that it's not supposed to be like this. And then when we see this stuff still happening, like not to be like John Oliver and be like, it's 2020, but like, dude, it's 2020. Like we shouldn't be seeing this stuff anymore. And then
even like yesterday, someone just got
Oh, Atlanta? Yeah, I saw
the
that.
guy got
At
killed
Wendy's?
in the drive-through. Yeah,
At the
it's
Wendy's,
like,
yeah.
dude, but like people just don't want to see cops killing people for no reason. Like,
Right.
and it's annoying because people get emotionally mad about it because they know that nothing happens to these guys when it happens. So it's like they just think like what all the protesters have done around the country, right? Like how many things have changed now? Like
Right.
Minneapolis is straight up like not having their police anymore.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what does that entail to defund the police? Because I feel like there's a lot of like misconceptions about it, and there's confusion.
I don't know what's gonna happen specifically. I've heard someone told me about an alternative, that they lose right, and I think it's more like community policing, and I think it makes sense because I don't think the cops should be called to every situation that they get called to. Like they really have such a wide array of situations that they have to deal with that sometimes it's like you just need to be more specialized in it.
Sure.
So instead of like if there's someone with a mental illness who is being threatening, and I talked to a police officer after the protest because he recognized me because we went to school together. Okay. And he was like, you know what, like you said some things, I respect it. Like I want to be part of the conversation. So I'm like, okay, like I'm never gonna turn away the opportunity to help someone learn something or be a change, make a difference, And so because I also want to learn about how they're trained. And he told me that police officers are allowed to use open hand strikes if someone pulls away. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, that's so ambiguous. Like, when do you stop? At what point can I retaliate?
Right.
Like it's just so open. Like, what is pulling away? How aggressive does it have to be?
I can promise you that we were not allowed to do that in the Army. So.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I'm like, okay, so that's a pretty weird thing to do, but that's what they're allowed to. So imagine you have someone with a mental illness, like they, whatever they might have that might cause them to be aggressive.
Schizophrenia, right?
Or not want to be touched.
Yeah.
Because some people just don't like to be touched. And, oh, well, they moved away, so now I can just beat the shit out of this person because they keep moving because, so it just doesn't make any sense. So maybe we just need a community specialist who can de-escalate those situations in a more professional manner.
And cops are people too. Maybe they're just having a bad day, man. And like they just got off seeing some fucked up like car crash or something like that. And now they got to respond to some guy that they think just like shoplifted or something. And, like.
And he told me, like the officer I spoke with, he told me about that. And a lot of people, honestly, like someone that I'm affiliated with, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want any negative connotation because he makes music and
you're good.
We've hashed it out, but
you're good.
Like he's had really negative experiences with the police, like much more. Like I honestly, like every encounter I've had, like being pulled over, like I've gotten off except one time when my tags were expired for 8 months. And the dude was like, "Hey, bro, like,
what?
My tags were expired for 8 months."
Oh, yeah.
Because like it's a whole other story. But he was like, "Bro, like
that's like a lazy crime, not an aggressive crime."
Yeah, I know.
he's like, "I give you a warning, but it's been like 8 months." I was like, "Fair enough. Like, just write the ticket, bro." I mean, so like personally, like my experiences weren't bad, but that's anecdotal. He's had like guns on him and stuff.
Yeah.
So I understand why his emotion is much more negative than mine.
Yeah.
But I just told him I had this conversation, and it was just like a huge no. Like,
hey, Dion, can you move the mic just a little bit over? Yeah, because you're like talking a little bit to the left of it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
Just by saying that, it just like it almost like it just made like delegitimize what my role is and what we're doing. And I think like you have to have some diplomacy. It's a dance of diplomacy and violence. Like you have to be.
I mean, even the revolution, like the 1776, they had people going overseas and raising hell. It wasn't all just gunshots.
You have to know thy enemy. You have to talk. I knowing about the open hand strikes, like that's something that can be directly attacked.
Yeah.
Like people that can be made aware of. Because I did not know that. That is such a weird policy. Just like, oh yeah, you can just hit this person if they move away from you. Like that's.
I don't think your experience is any less valid than that guy's either.
And that's
because that's one thing that goes into it is like you don't know what's gonna happen, and that's why people get so scared. Even like me, I'm a fucking white dude, man. I get pulled over by the cops, I'm still like heart pounding, like oh fuck, man, like I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen, and that's what's so scary about it.
Yeah, like that's I'm like, what? Oh, sorry, continue.
No, that's the thing is like even the most law-abiding citizen, which I mean, let's all be real, none of us are, but even the most law-abiding citizen the second they see a cop car behind them gets paranoid. Like, it's like, what did I do? You know, like and that's part of the problem is that people are afraid of them, you know?
I think that's why it makes sense to abolish the police. Now, abolish the police. There still needs to be law enforcement. Laws need to be enforced, but that doesn't mean it has to be a police state, you know?
No, for sure.
But this is the thing I try to tell to people is I'm a very psychological oriented person. I'm sure I've said that on, you know, in the last episodes. I really think about psychology a lot.
Right.
And everything is just stimulus. So you can see, if you see a Crown Vic, your heart starts racing. You know, it doesn't have to be a cop car or not. You see it.
Or a Ford Explorer now.
Stimuli.
Yeah.
It's not stimulus. I'm thinking about them stimulus checks.
I still haven't gotten that, by the way.
I'm trying to get that. Everything's a stimuli. So you see Crown Vic, okay, you're like, oh shit. You see a white dude in a Crown Vic with a uniform, you're like, oh shit. You see it with the lights on there, you're like, oh, you know. So it just continue, like, so when you see those things, like, you're automatically in a negative state of mind. So when you're just initiating that interaction with someone who can just slap the shit out of you with no repercussion, it's just, you're already just at a disadvantage because this is that psychological response that everyone's been attuned to. You know, so like if a cop pulls someone over and they're already agitated, of course they're going to be a little bit more aggressive just because of just how they're trained to think, which they're not even necessarily aware of. This is why, like, maybe we do need to get rid of this, you know, type of establishment, change the uniforms, change the names, change the roles that they do, specialize other things, because we're so associated with negativity, which is already the police system.
So what
I've got a really good example of it because one of my buddies from my old reserve unit I was in, he worked security at a hospital. So he was like uniform, like they carried a taser, but they didn't carry like an actual firearm or anything. And this dude would like straight up subdue, like his job was security at this hospital where you get like these crazy guys and guys all hyped up on meth and everything. Pretty similar stuff to like what cops have to deal with, right? Except they was just in the hospital. And these guys do this without a gun. These guys subdue, like these guys are like 6'5", like fucking bodybuilder guys hopped up on meth. Like,
so I don't want to play devil's advocate, but that's a controlled environment, and you know that guy doesn't have a gun though. That's the difference.
Well, I guess that's true, but I mean,
true.
You know what I mean? There's tons of situations where the police officers do that kind of like where they do like, stuff to people, and they like the cops know they don't.
There's a video of the protest, and I've been like sending it to the Omaha Police Department like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, hey, do you see this? It's like, okay, you have 4 dudes on one guy. Why is this guy still punching this dude?
Oh,
like, you know what I mean?
Really?
It's like, oh yeah, like I'll show it to you. It's like
you see plenty of videos on the internet.
At him. And like, I get it's a stressful job. And that's what I was telling the officers. I'm like, yeah, like your job is highly stressful. Like you deal with things that I don't have to deal with, but it's like you sign up for it. If you cannot do it, you cannot do it.
Right.
That's it. Sorry. Like if you can't not shoot somebody, you know, like, I mean, then don't be a cop. Like it's not for everybody.
That's why so many people are trying to push Congress to get rid of that applied immunity law.
Oh, the designated immunity where they can't be sued.
Yeah.
They can't be held individually responsible.
No, that's insane. Because like there are.
It wasn't even the original intent of the law. The original intent of the law was like to save first responders from like getting sued over breaking somebody's ribs from doing CPR,
which has happened. If you're if you do CPR on somebody that's having a heart attack at a restaurant and you're not a first responder, they can still sue you for breaking their ribs.
So that's if you're certified CPR and you do it to save their life and you break the ribs, they can't because
is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, you have legal protection to where they can't sue you for breaking their fucking collarbone or something.
Which is a good thing. I mean, we can all agree that's good. But
like, because when you're certified CPR, when you're certified CPR, which like a lot of cops, first responders, firefighters are, if you're out in public, you see somebody who needs CPR, you are legally like you have to do it. It's your responsibility to save that person until first responders arrive. So that's why like. You have that protection.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then basically what started happening was like back in 2005, all these like I think I've read it was like 2004, 2005, all these judges started citing that as like something to get cops out of police brutality cases, and it's like that's kind of an example of where these laws that people want to get pushed get used for not their intended purposes 50, 60 years from when they are signed in, because that shit was signed in the 60s. It was like 64 or 65 when applied immunity was signed as a law.
And that's where you got to be careful is, when you push for a law, when is it going to be used against you?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like, I remember the perfect example was at Waco. You ever, Waco, like the Branch Davidians where they burnt the So everyone was, that was a crazy guy. He was running a cult. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't mean he deserved to die. First off, I didn't mean they deserve to be burned alive. And look at now, 30 years ago, they're using the standard from Waco against people on the left. So it's like,
that's why I'm really big on like free speech, because because that shit will be used against you so quick, and especially when I know that's a whole nother different conversation.
Absolutely.
About, is bad speech free speech, but I definitely have a stance that people should be able to say bad things because you don't know what's going to be considered a bad
exactly
thing.
Is the problem is some people when they want like crazy, like Alex Jones banned from YouTube. The problem is to a lot of people that take a hard left stance is anybody right of Stalin is Alex Jones to them. Not like I'm not a right wing person. I'm not left wing either. But not everyone on the right is screaming about the frogs turning gay, right? Like
it's yeah, because literally anytime there's somebody who mentions any kind of like look at how many people in like the media or like even just you see it on Facebook try to say that the people at the protests were like white nationalists. You know what I mean? Like it's like, dude, are you serious? Like
yeah. The Antifa super soldier that went to destroy those cops, that 75-year-old dude.
Oh yeah. That's what Trump said.
Yeah, dude. So like it's dangerous when like Trump's now has labeled Antifa as a terrorist organization, right?
Have they done that for the KKK yet?
They haven't.
I don't think so.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous to do that, right, with Antifa, because it's like now anybody who starts saying like, "Oh, I think we should reform marijuana laws," now they're designated Antifa, and we can go fucking break into their house and kill their dog.
It's a big umbrella. That's the problem. It's a one size fits all mentality. That's going to be the detriment to this country, honestly. Like
one size fits all.
Yeah, it's. I have some. I don't know if they're unpopular opinions. I don't know. A lot of people. Okay.
I definitely do. So
let me phrase it here. Okay. Let's do a hot topic. Let's talk about racism, right?
Sure.
Racism is something that's plaguing the country, right?
Right.
But racism looks different now than it did, say, 100 years ago.
I think racism now is
or
more,
even 50 years ago.
I think racism now, like I won't ever say that it's gone or it's ever going to completely be gone.
Which it won't.
And I think the problem with racism now is that, for one, we still have echoes from the 60s, like one of the most fucking racially sensitive, like racially heated times in America, besides maybe like the Civil War or some shit. But like the 60s were pretty fucking crazy, man.
Jim Crow was probably the worst, but yeah.
The 60s were pretty fucking crazy too. Like they're definitely up there, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
So we have still echoes of like laws and stuff from that, and then also we just have it where like it's in like these really specific like organizations or institutions. Like it's like in like academia, and it's in like the police organizations, like how they police, and it's in like
they're financial. Look at Bank of New York Mellon.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
they got emails leaked and they were calling subprime lending mud people loans.
Yeah. See, that was like that was like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, so like right now, and I think the difference between now and the 1960s, or maybe even like earlier than that, is the common person knows that that's wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Most of the racism that people experience, I feel like they don't understand that it's like it's a racist act. You know what I mean? It's like an implicit bias. I feel like that really gets people. Like, so that's why I say it's not a one size fits all, because there's a difference between the KKK hood wielding, like just kill them all, than someone who's just like they go to North Omaha and they're afraid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think there's a really
dating a black guy. Yeah,
I think there's a really, really large difference between some Karen at a gas station telling a Mexican person to go back to Mexico, and Harvard not admitting somebody specifically because they're Mexican.
It's a big difference.
Yeah,
because the Karen, dude, you're never gonna see her again in your life, and like you tell any 9 out of 10 people, they're gonna say fuck that bitch. You know what I mean? But the Harvard thing is gonna like affect you a lot. It affects a lot of people, not just you. Like,
and honestly though, I feel like it starts with those Karens, and even her, or a situation like that. I feel like a person like that is more consciously racist than other people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because she's like, okay, get out of my country type.
Yeah.
You know, but I think there's people who won't say. I think there's people who won't say the N-word, don't tell jokes, who don't do any of the stuff that we would typically define as racist, but still do or can still have negative impact. You know, negatively impact someone of a different race because of a bias they have. And that's why I feel like if someone does, then my unpopular opinion is I think someone can say or do something that is deemed, you know, societally as racist and maybe not necessarily be that way. And that's the danger. And when I say it's stimuli again, when people react to that, like people to me, they just argue terribly. And I think what people should try to do is tell someone that they're being racist without using the word racist. Because
you're being biased.
As soon as you say it, especially to someone who's not conscious, like
to go on the defensive.
Yeah, they're going to defend themselves, not the argument. Like at the end of the day, but fundamentally, they're going to be like, "What? I don't think that you should all die." And since they have, you know, checked all those boxes within themselves, they're not really going to see, you know, the other issue at hand.
Yeah.
Well, I feel
look at the people that are defending the police in these situations. Those people like our age that are like, no, it's not a problem with the police as a whole. It's like those guys might not even necessarily be inherently racist. They, you know, they like
there's just a point they're not getting. And I've had those conversations with people, and I've changed minds. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I'm not quick to attack you because you have an opinion. I'm like, let me ask you some questions.
The best example is that thing in Buffalo where you had two guys that pushed that old man down, 75-year-old man, brutalized him, clearly pushed him down.
Bleeding on video,
My issue isn't with those two. It's with the 50 others that stood around and towed the line, that lied about it, that knew what happened, and they towed the line on a fucking lie. That's what, if you wanted a better example, you couldn't come up with one. You had 50 good cops that stood around and watched the two bad ones and then lied to cover their ass.
And the National Guard guys were the ones that saved the old man.
Didn't they take a leave or something because
they resigned not because of the abuse, but because of that they got held accountable for it.
Which is
that's the problem. That is the problem right on the head. It's a perfect example.
I've never been a fan of like the police. I've always hated the system, you know, because that shit is like it's inherently terrible. I don't think humans are inherently anything. So like, you know, as an individual, I'm always thinking someone's able to change, you know. But I've never really like been a huge fan of the cops. But like ever since like, just I don't know, like it's just been even worse, bro. Like I'm honestly becoming to the point where I'm almost like less rational about it because I'm just like.
It happens for sure.
It's
like, really easy to be emotionally like you said stimulated by this because it's anger, it's frustrating. People are frustrated by it because people don't want it to be like this. But
there's no accountability, zero accountability.
It's the accountability is the double standard is the problem because I'm a white guy and I know that if I were on video choking a guy to death, I would be arrested the same day. Probably within the hour, not 4 fucking days later, like happened in Minnesota.
And you would have to have a bunch of people sign a protest or
a petition
to do it. Sign petitions
to get my friends that stood around and watched me do it.
Support black-owned businesses, sign petitions. I'm sorry.
No,
it's funny that you bring that up because I had a conversation with someone. Well, I'm still gonna have a conversation with her, but you know, just talking about the difference between if, you know, a regular person does it or if a cop does it, you know, and she was just saying that, well, I think she cited in Chicago that, you know, only 22% of, you know, murders that were an African-American, you know, murders of another African-American are solved, and more are solved with the police or something like that. I don't take that with a grain of salt. But this is, I think it's important to understand the societal context of everything. You know, like numbers don't tell the entire story. Only 22% of the murders are being solved when, you know, the crime is, you know, committed upon the same race, you know, between African Americans. But that is also because they don't trust the police. They're not cooperating with the law system at hand. You know, So what I told her is there's a big difference between when you see someone on camera and you have everybody watch this murder happen and nothing happens, than when no one gave any evidence, no witnesses came forward, and there's no video, and then nothing happens. Those are two completely different.
Yeah.
The numbers won't tell you that.
It's like skewed data. Yeah.
Well, and it's
because you can make the data say anything you want. You know.
That's an interesting point. A lot of those are presumably gang shootings. That only 22% of gang shootings in Chicago get solved because nobody will talk, and it's the same thing with the police. Nobody will talk there either.
Yeah.
Like, you see what I'm saying? It's the thin blue line that you hear about. That's definitely, like, nobody wants to acknowledge that is a gang culture. That's
and it's not even just like the police
break the law. I'm not gonna rat him out. I toe the line. I get fucking blackballed, threatened, God knows what if I fucking snitch on him. How is that different than the Bloods and Crips?
It's
not.
And it's not even just like the
exactly.
it's not even just like that they'll snitch on each other either. It's like you get like video evidence of like somebody using filming it on a camera of it happening. And the judges with the good old boy system protect the cops that they're buddies with, and they don't charge them with anything when there's like
self-protecting instinct.
Yeah.
Thankfully here, I mean, it's not perfect, but we do have a citizen review board in Omaha, so for things like that. So
I mean, look at like what happened with those 3 guys that killed that Native American guy. Though, yeah, sure. It's like to say that Omaha, like I think I hold Omaha police like to a little bit higher standard apparently than the Minneapolis or like the LAPD or something like that, because you hear of those guys, like especially like the LAPD, you guys hear those guys fucking people up like all the time, dude.
I see some terrible things.
Yeah, they're not as bad as that, but like they're not perfect, and you should always strive to like make things better.
Yeah.
So that like when I argue with people about stuff like when they're saying defund the police or something like that or anything, I'm just like, dude, you can still like support like that the necessity of like a police, or like the police or like law enforcement, but also want to change it to where it's better for the people,
community.
because
Do police officers have a community service requirement before joining the force?
That's a good question.
I don't think so.
And that's a good
my
question.
buddy Tony Connor, he's been on our podcast before.
Yeah.
He's like pretty high up with the Omaha Police Department.
He's like the PR guy, basically.
He's basically the president of their PR thing. And like, I mean, he's always like talking about that the police strive for the most part. He says that they strive to be better, right? And he'll say like, oh, like the stuff that happened in Minneapolis, should not have happened, right? Like it's detestable. But then I'm like, well, I mean, it's awesome that he thinks that. But then you get the thing that happens like here in Omaha where that guy with the Native American guy gets off. And it's like, that's something that's happening in our backyard.
And then, they got 4 dudes and one guy, and the guy's punching him, and no one's – and this thing, I think there's a thing, because I feel like policing's a business too, because like
definitely
with the history of what it – like the prison system, like it's literally just modern day slavery.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's a business. And even when I worked at – my big corporation job, like not big corporation. I worked in the warehouse. I just don't want to say the
no, you're good.
They said, don't apologize to the customers if you do something, because it's like you're admitting fault.
Exactly.
And that's what I feel like
it's
with the police, that they just don't want to admit fault. And I was telling that to the officers. I'm like, okay, now you're sitting here right now, one-on-one, telling me, oh, you disagree with what happened in Minneapolis. But bro, that's a whisper to a shout.
Right.
Like, yeah, okay. Oh, you had a conference and you said we denounced that. That's not us, bro. You suck our dicks,
right?
At this point, don't be like, oh, that was bad. That like what?
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Like,
I don't want to hear you guys say like that was bad. I want to hear you guys be like, this is what we're doing within our.
Well, that's
this is what we're doing within our department to make sure that doesn't happen.
Show us you're making.
Remember when Chipotle had like the E. coli going around in all their food? That would be like Chipotle coming out, issuing like a public statement. We're sorry for making everyone sick, but we're not changing any of the way we do anything.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep giving you the E. coli. Yeah.
So like we need to make a difference, and I think it's funny that police officers, to my knowledge, don't have to do any community service.
Which they should.
Join the force, but you have to do that to get a college scholarship.
I think it's crazy that they only get 6 months of like police academy, and then they're on the streets and everything. I think it should be a college degree job.
They
get paid well. Like, it should be a college degree job.
We require like the lowest amount of training of any other country, and I hate comparing to other countries because I know it's always apples and oranges different, but those countries don't have near the racial tension that we do. They
also don't have as much of an armed population as we do too. Like our police should be at a higher standard than those countries.
Dealing with people with guns.
They get paid very well. It's not like that's not like a job that you can't pursue a very good life in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they definitely need more training, especially to because I know, especially if it's just one-on-one, it's going to be hard to subdue someone and then handcuff them at the same time. I can see that being a difficulty, but my God, some Brazilian jiu-jitsu could go a long way.
Something like that.
You know what I mean? Like the gym I trained at, I mean, I didn't say boxing, I did jiu-jitsu, but like the 135-pound coach the jiu-jitsu coach could submit the 205-pound MMA coach, no problem.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, come on, you got 3 of you, and you still come on now, like up your standard of training. Like it's not rocket science.
Definitely. And I think another thing we can do is we've got problems with the police. Let's get rid of some of the laws we're asking them to enforce, like marijuana.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Like I said on Twitter the other day, I was like, how many negative police experiences have started with I smell weed, step out of the car. And, for whatever reason, maybe the individual wasn't educated or whatever to the point they could say smell is not a reason to search. I don't consent. But, I mean, for whatever reason, it's ended negatively. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of let's make it so you got a license. You get a vehicle, you license it one time. So that way, if it's stolen, they can track it back to you. Like don't make people get a license every fucking year. First off, it's just a money grab. Second off, a cop's going to pull somebody over for that, and then it gives them the incentive to search for something to look for. Let's make it so they can't pull people over like for having expired plates. Exactly.
Well, then you got to get into where the city will have to admit that they just do all that stuff to make money, then, because that's really all it comes down to.
It's a money grab.
That's all they do it for.
And don't get me wrong, if a guy is fucking wasted going between the lines and, he's blowing through red lights, going 100 miles an hour, pull that guy over. That guy's a piece of shit. He's endangering everybody. I have no problem with that. But me driving with an expired license is not endangering anybody. An expired plate, not driver's license, is not endangering anybody.
Mm-hmm. Which is like getting pulled over, especially as someone who, like most people feel that way. So it leads back to the thing if like your reaction with the police is just automatically going to start off negative because you're going to be getting pulled over some dumb shit, and you apparently the citizens who have no training and have no hierarchy, like in an official capacity, have to be the ones who remain calm and de-escalate the situation.
Exactly.
And that's why I try to tell people because even if the citizens are the problem, which we aren't, but even if we are, I feel like it is up to the state or the government to be able to change because they have an organizational system they need to respond to us. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can't go tell some Joe Schmo fuck over there, like, hey, bro, we have to do this. He'd be like, dude, fuck you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But, when you are a police officer, you have guidelines you have to follow. You have rules and regulations. Mm-hmm. So they need to go and find out the shit that's not working. Like, oh, wow, I can just beat the shit out of someone because they did this to me, and be like, okay, let's get that one out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it just goes right back to what the root of the problem is accountability. And the problem with accountability is a very nuanced and deep issue that has like a lot of things as to why it's an issue. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like if they find the guy that's beating up the people and everything, like they don't get rid of him. Yeah, you know what I mean? They don't fire him. If they have that like strike system that they do. And then, if you get a guy that fucking kills a dude, even if he wasn't meant to, he's still going to get off because,
I sent a video of the officers downtown just hitting that dude to the officer I was talking to. And I was like, what do you think about this? You know what I mean? Just so I want to see his opinion. And that's when he told me about the thing. Like, he wasn't like, oh, that's bad. Yeah. It's just like, one of the things is I do try to understand, I try to understand not everything just from a moral standpoint.
Yeah.
But from maybe like a most anthropological standpoint, that when you are part of a system, it's hard to get out of it. I think this dude, I think it's named Philip Zimbardo. I might be wrong, but he did this experiment.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah. With the guards and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, like that dude probably is just trained to think like, yo, this is okay. And that's what, like, even if I can't change the whole system by talking to this guy, if I can just make him even maybe expose some things in the force that are just built in there, you know, that are just terrible, maybe he'll fucking leave.
Well, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing of dehumanizing who you're policing or what you're doing, because you would see that in the military, man. Like, look at like every major conflict the military's fought in, with like over in Vietnam, like fucking thinking the guys over in the people in Vietnam were just we're just another gook or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, or in World War II, like in the Japanese and German, or, you know, any war like that, where when that mentality of like you're out there with a gun, you're in war.
Yeah, our police are militarized as fuck. It's just like they're just prepared for it.
A big problem is just like you said, it's like an us versus them kind of thing. I mean, America's very tribalistic on all levels. You got Republicans and Democrats. You got citizens versus government. Your police. You know, to a higher degree, racial issues.
It's literally how our country came to be. Like, it's like deeply rooted in America.
Yeah, and you know, people are like, yeah, my side might be wrong, but I'm not going to admit that. I don't want to do that, because then your side wins, and that's not how it should be. Because like, here, I pulled this up. This is Minneapolis police sell this with their logo on it. This is what it says. It's a poster or whatever. Yeah, poster. It says, "We the unappreciated must do the unimaginable and see the unthinkable to protect the ungrateful." You are literally referring to the people that you deal with every day as ungrateful. Imagine if like a grocery store called their customers ungrateful in a commercial. They'd be out of fucking business.
And we literally pay for all of your stuff.
And they say them as ungrateful.
And now you're gonna make us not like you more.
When's the last time you talked to a guy that was like got pulled over for having expired tags? Was like, I'm man, I'm grateful for the police for pulling these people over for expired tags.
Right.
Like, militant dudes that just come and take your money.
Right.
Or throw you in jail.
Right. And just add extra steps to the process.
The whole aura of them is just like in most cases, what's the point? You know, like I said, the example with, you know, someone who's, you know, with a mental illness and they get called, is like, okay, like you have someone who's prepared for force to deal with someone who's probably going to be forceful, which is like like I also said again, it's easier to keep something calm than de-escalate something. So if you just have someone who's, especially after they seem something horrible, there's just so many factors that go into it that just makes the police force not make sense in the current state that it is.
What do you think about the autonomous zone in Seattle?
Explain what it is exactly.
Have you seen anything about
it? Oh, dude, I fucking think it's hilarious, man.
So,
because it's like, this is what the Boogaloo guys have been fucking wanting to do for like years.
It is, but it's being run into the ground. They're running into the ground, though.
It doesn't matter. They still did it.
So
it's like funny, dude.
Antifa, like the organized group, took over like 6 blocks of land in Seattle,
including a police precinct.
Yeah. On the second day, a SoundCloud rapper and his crew came in with guns and took over as the enforcers.
They're fucking warlords, man. It's hilarious.
Internet trolls from 4chan posted all over the southwest United States or northwest United States that it was welcoming everyone. And homeless people were invited. So you had drug-addicted, schizophrenic homeless people came in and stole all their food on the third day. On the fourth day, they were rationing out Sprite in Ziploc bags.
No way.
It's an experiment in communism, and it's
really a thing.
Yeah, it's like
they call it
it's the Chaz.
It's Chaz. Yeah. That's right.
It's still going on. Yeah, it's like
Trump's something autonomous
zone.
How have I not seen? I mean, I haven't been on social media like that. But
just Google, you can Google Chaz like Seattle news.
Raz Simone is the name of the guy who has declared himself the police, and
now he's going further
on video assaulting people for like graffiti and punched a guy in the face just for talking to him the wrong way. And it's like they separated from the police, and it's worse. Like,
hey man, you know what? Britain used to make fun of the colonists for the dumb shit when they were trying to create their government, and you know, same thing. I think the whole thing is hilarious, dude. It's it's like, yeah, it's a fucking shit show over there, but just the fact that these guys had the balls to set up a fence around the area and be like, this is not America. You are leaving America in here. I'm like, dude, this is what people this is like what the fucking Boog Boys and all
Well,
this is what they've been wanting to do.
What sucks though is there's people that live there that are operating businesses there that didn't have a say in it, and they're being told they need to pay operating fees to the people.
What kind of shit is
that's
so,
hilarious,
like the
dude.
mafia, like the mafia, like the Italian mob.
Authority in the community, they're no better. That's why like, I never hold myself on like a high horse, or like I don't hold other people on high horses just because I've seen them do a certain thing, or like they've done one good thing. Because shit, just because you haven't done it doesn't mean you won't do it when you get the chance.
Right. Well, it's the Zimbardo thing. It's the Zimbardo thing. You put people in positions of power and they abuse people.
And now, like, the dude's out here punching people for talking. It's like, dude, like,
you know what those businesses should do? They should stop paying the taxes for the U.S. and only pay them. So the U.S. government's like, all right, this is an actual like hostile nation that we have to go
affecting their pockets.
Yeah, dude, and legitimize it, and we'll see how it actually plays out, because that'd be hilarious, dude.
I'm honestly surprised, and I really do. I can see this thing ending like a Waco type standoff thing.
I can't believe I haven't heard of that. There's videos of this shit.
Yeah, there's videos of the guy. And don't get me wrong, not all of it's this war-torn hellhole. Most people, I mean, it's disgusting. It looks like a homeless camp. People are living in tents and stuff, and there's genuine homeless people coming in stealing shit. There are some most of the people there are peaceful, and they have good intention.
I just think the whole thing, the whole spirit of the whole thing is great. I love it. It's just a group of people that were pissed off at the U.S. They were pissed off at Seattle. They were pissed off at the local government there. And what they do, they seceded from it. And I think that is awesome, dude.
We definitely, as far as secession, I think we do need to start decentralizing, like states seceding from the Union, not in the Civil War sense, but we're too spread out. We're clearly in the end stages of empire. If we don't want the U.S. to become a failed state like the Roman Empire was for decades after they collapsed, we need to start downsizing. Nebraska is a country. Texas is a country.
The Roman Empire collapsed like 4 times too, basically, and they just kept rebuilding. Like,
there are a lot of ideas spread around this big ass country. I don't know, like
it is. Even California. There's so many different. California is like 3 states in one. California should not be one state.
Texas is like the entire country of Germany, dude. Like, it's size-wise, population-wise, it's like its own country.
Yeah, like you try to get so many people to agree, and it's like it's such a divided country too, and it's like the division just gets even worse, even within. Yeah. Like with people who agree, that's the thing. I see some people who agree with each other like fighting, and I'm just like, damn, like that's the problem with. A lot of people is you can agree with 99% of the argument, but if you disagree with one thing, they'll be like, nope, like, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just like, damn.
I think people that try to talk about these really nuanced and complicated topics too are a little too biased to keep like logical,
for sure,
like consistency with stuff.
Passion,
you know what I mean?
Passion's a very good thing, but it's not gonna necessarily get you. It's not going to be the sole thing that gets you to where you want to go at the same time. You don't want to let it. You don't want to let it cloud your judgment at the same time.
When I see the libertarians like mad trashing the Chaz thing, I'm just like, dude, they're doing what like you guys dream about. Like, you guys fucking have wet dreams about. These guys are doing it.
So Eric July was making fun of him, but Adam Kokesh was straight up threatening to go down there if the government did a standoff and fucking start throwing rounds back. So it's not all of them. To be fair.
I think that's why I like the spirit of it. Yeah. I doubt that they're really going to be try to attempt to be a communist state. They'll probably just be some warlord state like fucking Mongolia or something.
That's how it goes,
That's dope, though. Like, at least they know it's possible. They know that motherfuckers is not playing games. That's why I like it. Sometimes shit, this guy has to get fucked up. Like, I'm not going to be part of it because that's not my role. I said that,
right.
Like, if someone touched me, or someone touched someone else, I'm on that.
Right.
Imagine if this just like 20 years from now we're talking about like, yeah, dude, the country of Chaz just fucking came out of this, dude.
This tiny little dot inside of Seattle. 6 fucking blocks.
People compare it to.
You don't hear that happen. You think that only happens in other countries. Like Americans think like, oh no, that can never happen to us.
Well, because it happens in like South America and Africa every day. Yeah, like it can like.
People compare it to Pretoria, that episode of Family Guy where like they find out that Peter's house is like its own country, it's like not owned by the US, and they like go to war over it and stuff. Like,
even if they did secede, America probably would just take it back like they just do with every other fucking thing.
And that,
you know?
and unfortunately, that's likely how it's going to end because
they're like, oh no, resources.
The current administration is run by an egomaniac. I mean, let's call it Trump. Let's call it what it is.
Let's call it.
This is a blemish on his record. Even if 6 blocks of a city on the other side of the country breaks away, he's not going to take that because that's somebody falling out of order. I don't think this ends well either way.
I think they'll tell everybody who's loyal to the United States to get the fuck out of there, and then they're just gonna airstrike the fuck out of that 6 blocks and
they've done it before.
Yeah,
they've done it before in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
in Philadelphia. I'm gonna Google it because I don't want to get this wrong because this is like something
they blew up a bunch of the police blew up blocks because of like Black Panthers organizing in an area, and they just like blew up blocks.
I think
1985. 1985. Let's see here.
It's not like it's like a while ago, but like not that long ago.
Yeah.
11 people, including 5 children, died in Philadelphia, or a Philadelphia neighborhood burned to the ground in an airstrike against the Black Liberation Group. Essentially the same thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Jeez, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
They better have the cojones to fucking do that, man. Like
yeah.
I'm slightly more militant than I was a second ago.
I've seen firsthand American firepower when it comes to their military. So I'm like, you better get ready, dude.
And the military, do you think you ever felt like you saw like could see the systemic racism and how it affected people?
The military is way different than local police, man, and it really is accountability because like if I was over in another country and I struck somebody that I was detaining or something like that, there's a good chance I'd end up in Leavenworth, dude, because like they just don't have this protection for people, like at least as much in the police forces. Like if I fucking murdered somebody when I was detaining them, I'd be in Leavenworth. Like
really?
No. Yeah. People in the military are so scared. They're not necessarily scared, but they're taught ever since basic training, like escalation of force and to use only what is necessary because we've been fighting a fucking guerrilla war for 20 years now.
Yeah.
That like, dude, you kill somebody over in Iraq, dude, like detaining them, the whole population finds out in the city and they're burning your consulate to the ground in that city. You know what I mean? So
I bet.
So they don't even want to deal with it. So they just teach you to just be fucking cognizant of what you're doing over there. Like
we talked about it on, was it the last episode or the one before? I mean, you guys, the fact that your rules of engagement were less strict than the police on U.S. citizens you're going
more strict
or more strict. Excuse me, more strict. Yeah. The fact that the police have, that's what I meant to say. The police are less strict rules of engagement on U.S. citizens than you guys had over there. You guys go into foreign countries against an enemy that does not wear a uniform, that straps bombs to women and children's vests or to women and children's chests. Yeah. And you have to know damn well that this person's armed before you even think about pulling your gun on them. And the cops can essentially just fire at will and their testimony's taken like God.
And it's a way less controlled environment where the cops are worried about people having guns and stuff in public there, but like people have like RPGs and grenades and like that, the neighborhood that you're policing. The neighborhood that you're policing out there. Cause really like if you're like over in say Afghanistan right now, you're really just like a police force basically. Exactly. And like the police, the neighborhoods that you're patrolling through there have like IEDs and bombs and stuff. And you've got like an organization there that's like actively trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So it's like, they have stricter rules of engagement there than they would in.
Isn't it like you guys can't even fire into a building, can you?
No, you can't fire into building. Well, you can't fire into mosques. So if the guys will know that and they'll shoot at you from mosques and there's nothing you can do about it. You have to be like, they're in a mosque. We can't.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, and they'll shoot someone who's running away here.
Yeah.
That's
they'll
crazy.
just leave.
Or like in Miami where they shot through the UPS driver to stop the jewel thieves.
Oh my God, dude! If something like that happened, something like that happened to the UPS driver, like that happened in was it Jacksonville?
Miami.
If something like that happened over in fucking like Iraq, dude, where like you killed some innocent person, like that was a car bomb or something, that commander's getting relieved.
And I don't understand how these people get their fucking jobs back.
Oh, it was handled horribly.
Get that. Even
do you know what happened with that?
No, I don't know the full details. I saw the video.
So these guys robbed a jewelry store and they took off, and like the jewelry it's jewelry, right? Like they're gonna stop. They're gonna run out of gas, something. Yeah. They fucking in the middle of the interstate, rush hour traffic, cops surrounded these guys. A UPS driver got stuck in the middle, and the bandits were using him as a human shield. They shot through the UPS driver. Like,
I'm surprised none of the cops shot each other too.
I know.
They were like in a 360 circle.
It was a Polish firing squad.
Yeah, dude.
I'm Polish. I can make fun of my heritage. We're stupid as hell. But
it's like you got to think, dude. The guy that's in your circle of guns, right? Bullets go like that.
Exactly.
How did nobody get fucking shot?
They hit somebody else too.
Charged in that?
No, I think someone got fired, but like they hit a woman that was just in her car too, and they were hiding behind this other guy's car. They were using a guy as a barricade that was in his car to protect themselves from being shot at. Like, if you use me as a barricade, I'm just gonna drive away. So good fucking luck.
People, that person shouldn't have resisted. They would have been a fucking barricade.
Shouldn't have resisted.
Jesus.
Me trying to use you as a barricade.
Oh my God. See, you guys have given me some good talking points for further discussion.
Yeah, man.
Like, there's a lot of crazy justifications that going on both sides. I think,
definitely,
a lot of crazy justifications, but I hope people can hear this conversation and argue things better, because that's my biggest thing. Maybe, and stop unfriending people on social media.
Yes.
That too. That's another thing is I feel like when people because the whole cancel culture, it's more about revenge than actually doing anything. Because when you see people that are posting stuff on Facebook, especially going after children, you know what I mean? That are like reporting to their colleges and stuff like that. Like, what you see people that are posting stuff that's offensive, whatever, instead of having a conversation with them about why that's not wrong, seeking out their employer and trying to ruin their life, number one, that's just trying to give you a power trip. Number two, it's what that does now that angers that person. So that's going to push them further down. If they were just joking and they didn't hold those beliefs, now they might hold those beliefs. Look, Owen Benjamin, the comedian, he had some bad takes, but not anything terrible. That dude got canceled and completely deplatformed from everything. He's a fucking full-blown alcoholic that'll go on YouTube and go on live rants about how Hitler was right. Like, totally went off the rails since he got canceled.
Look at how Drew Brees got handled, man. I think Drew Brees is a perfect example of how that should have been handled.
So what,
like, if they would have treated,
he said something about like
something about that he wouldn't support people kneeling during the national anthems during this season because he didn't want it to disrespect the flag, right? Right. Yeah, it's like it's wrong. It's not what the whole thing is about, right? But if that same cancel culture would have been applied to Drew Brees, he would have been released from the team. He would not be on it. It'd be like Colin Kaepernick, right? He wouldn't be on he wouldn't be on any teams. He'd be out of the league. He'd be having to find something else to do, right? But you know what everybody did? Instead of just completely unfollowing Drew Brees and everything and kicking him off social media and everything, literally like his teammates and everybody around him was just explaining to him why he was wrong on that opinion, and he fucking changed his mind on it, dude. Like, that's how you handle that situation.
You have to give someone the chance to change,
right?
Like, that's the biggest thing.
And that's the thing is when you directly attack them politically and ruin their life, they're not going to change. Especially honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a petty ass motherfucker, so like cancel some people, but like someone like who has a platform, if you can change their mind, especially like someone like Drew Brees, if they can genuinely change his mind, I'm sure that because you identify more with people who are like you, so for sure
people who identify with Drew Brees, that they see him change his mind, they're gonna be more likely to change
you don't
their mind
cancel
as well.
people. You shouldn't cancel people like Joji or like who's finally getting the stuff from Filthy Frank catching up with him. Like people like just a couple months ago finally figured out Joji was Filthy Frank, and they were like trying to cancel him. Like, you don't cancel dudes like that and Drew Brees. You cancel dudes like Bill Cosby and like Harvey Weinstein,
rapists,
and shit.
People.
You cancel like predators and people that like hurt people and stuff. Not people that.
People with who are misinformed, or like honestly, I see things on my Facebook memories that I have to delete because that I posted in like 2009, and I'm like, dude, I would get canceled. Well, that's why I don't hate too much, because I'm like, I have said some
Everybody has.
Said
Everybody
some
has.
shit.
Everybody has.
And I'm just like,
and that's
I'm like,
now I will make exceptions to the never call somebody's employer rule that I beat to death in the show. If it has real world implications, and it's so if this person works in the school system or they're a police officer.
And I think it's got to be more
like
nuanced
that.
than that too. If they work in the school system and they've got like child pornography on their phone,
Well, then I'd call the
computer.
cops or something like that, the FBI, something like that. But I mean, if they work in the police force or the school system or Health and Human Services, something like that, where they're interacting with all kinds of people and they're on posting racist, really racist shit, you know, not
about discretion.
stuff like that.
They're posting
like, all lives
videos
matter,
of them
maybe
like
not
beating up black people in a bar or some shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
not even
like,
that. I mean, just rants about, you know, if those people wouldn't play their music so loud, something like that, right? That's different. That has real world implications. This person's bias is going to affect real people in a negative way, not just upset you online. So that's when I would be like, yeah, fuck that guy, ruin him, like, because
True that, because there's some people. I was talking this about my mom. You know, like there's some people who just have bad takes. They're just not informed, and then they fall under that umbrella of racist. And that's why I was saying not one size fits all. You know, like just because someone says all lives matter does not immediately make them a racist person. You know what I'm saying? You know, like,
I think
that doesn't make them. Like,
I think that's more uninformed than anything else.
Like,
exactly.
like,
It's
you know,
not a nuanced opinion to have. It's like
educate them and then just have them. That's why I'm not gonna. I feel like so many people who argue, but they're just like fighting over the term. You know that they use to describe it. I'm like, bro, if you can sit here and say like, you know what, I think there's a problem. You know, systemically, I want to address it. I want to work with you and change it. Bro, honestly, I don't care what you say, but just work with me. That's all I care about. There's people who are willing to do that. They have to be educated on the problem. They're just not aware of it. They don't live the life that you live. And then if you can convey it to them, then a lot of the cases that I have experienced personally, they are willing to listen and willing to make a change.
Yeah. Well, and I think the best example I saw of that was, it was, you know, if your coworker comes to you and says, my dad has pancreatic cancer, and you responded, well, a lot of people have pancreatic cancer. That's correct, but it's very, very fucked up to say.
Like, it's not like what's gonna help anything. It's not gonna help anything, dude.
Like technically, that is correct. Yes, of course, all lives matter. Of course, lots of people have pancreatic cancer. That's not what we're talking about.
And that's why you have to find new ways to say it, because people, they're saying things that aren't technically wrong. So it's like, I see why it's hard to convince them, like saying like, oh, you're this, because like, okay, yes, all lives do matter, you know, and then people use the same argument that they saw on Facebook, you know, and then they convince them. But I'm just like, you need to find a new way to say it.
You know what I think changed so many people's minds about the BLM thing?
What's that?
Or like about the whole just stance and the whole argument itself was people
Taco Bell posting a black square.
No, it's people
that
being
really got me.
that kind of stuff.
I was like, this is real.
That kind of shit just doesn't work. And that kind of stuff is the same thing as homeboy posting himself wearing a BLM T-shirt as his profile picture.
Right.
That's about as effective. But what really happened?
Grandstanding, right?
Well, it's about people being specific, right? Like with the whole thing that happened with George Floyd, that gave the entire and like not even just George Floyd, but like Breonna Taylor, or was it Breonna Williams?
Taylor.
Yeah, Breonna Taylor. And then the guy in Georgia too.
Arbery,
all those things. Yeah, Arbery. All those three things were specific, and it gave people like actual relevant, recent examples of why the BLM argument is relevant today as it is. Whereas like you had like when Colin Kaepernick was doing the kneel during the protest.
Like, what are you talking about?
He wasn't giving he wasn't being specific enough about it. If he would have just started saying like, yeah, this guy got this happened, you know, do a little research, name fucking 5 people, because that'd be easy as fuck to find 5 people that were the result of police brutality against black people. And then he's got some specific cases, and people are like, wait, okay, and then you start researching into it more. That's exactly what happened with George Floyd, right? Was this started happening, and then people are like looking more into it, and people are like, wait, there's some more stuff going on here, and that's why you're seeing so many people go on to the other side of the argument now. People are like starting to wake up as to like, this actually still is an issue that we need to like address.
I think it's a combination of that and the fact that they're now getting caught on TV brutalizing white people too, and white people are kind of like, oh shit, wait,
they saw the old white.
Maybe this is a problem.
Wow. There's so many complexes that have to be dissolved to, you know, have these types of discussions, because you like, there's emotion involved, passion, and like a lot of the times the way that people argue, it's like trying to convince an atheist that God is real by using God as your example.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just like
you can't argue with generalities. You have to be very specific.
You have to be specific, and I tell people you have to make some sacrifices. Like you might have to find a point somewhere in their argument you agree with, because if you can make them feel validated in themselves, they'll be more willing to listen to you.
Definitely.
So you don't have to agree with the entire thing, but you can find something that this person said that you can agree with. So, like, you don't have to shit on someone for saying all lives matter.
No.
Because the statement itself is, a factual statement. So that's what the stimuli comes in. You call them a racist, and they're like, "Oh, wait, what the fuck? I just said people matter." Like, you call them racist. So they're not even.
I don't think that's a statement that comes from a bad part of like.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
It's not. It's really. It's like somebody saying like, "Look, It's kind of like somebody saying like, "Look, I understand what you're saying, but it's not even somebody thinking they understand what you say, but they're like, I don't think it's as bad as what you're making it out to be. And I think the police could do a good job for the most part, right? That's basically what they're saying by all lives matter. And that's like not an evil statement to say, but it's one that's
it's
ignorant.
just insensitive.
It definitely is. And there's ways to tell them that.
Yeah.
And
without being an asshole.
Without making them thinking that they hate the entire black race. Because that's what you think they're trying to convince them of.
And people try to make it out like it's a black and white thing, and it's not, man. Like fucking only one of the cops that killed George Floyd was a white guy. And it's not. I
never, even to me, like, and this is why I'm unpopular, because like I don't subscribe to one thing. You know what I mean? It don't matter what you say to me, because it's about how you walk. There's people who say Black Lives Matter and are not doing anything to actually be helpful whatsoever. You know what I mean? So I'm like, dude, congratulations for the slogan.
You know what's awesome for you now, man, is now you can be like, dude, I got shot with fucking
it's like,
weapons.
Shut the fuck up.
Honestly,
dude, I was.
Even then, I'm just like, it continues, and a lot of people like they want to shit on you, especially for not. I'm not super vocal on social media like a lot of people are. I have been more recently, just because like it's been like more around, and I like to address certain things. But one, I feel like it's almost pointless for me to be as vocal as I would like to. Because anyone who disagrees with you is going to remove you. So
inflammatory, right? Yeah.
I'm going to say this point to someone who's already seen it. Someone else, agree.
Well, it's
But I like to continue, because there's people who went to the protest for their pictures. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I took some pictures at the protest, but I had the camera out for an hour because I'm documenting history. Like I'm going to take some pictures. You know what I'm saying?
Being a part of history, man. Yeah, it's super cool.
I want to like remember that. But I also continue the dialogue, like I have those tough conversations. I sit down with someone who I really might not want to talk to for 4 hours, and people tell me like it's pointless to talk to them, but I feel like that stuff is important, and I do it every day, like if someone hits me with some fuck shit, I'll be like, oh, hey, hold up, boy, hold on.
Well, it's like,
let me tell you something.
I think the best thing.
Davis is? Do you know who Daryl Davis is?
Mm-mm.
He's the black blues or jazz or blues musician. He has befriended and gotten over like 500 people to leave the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, I know this guy. Yeah,
he's on. If you haven't heard, he's on Joe Rogan. It's a really fucking interesting episode.
It makes sense, and people think you're crazy, but you cannot change someone's mind if they don't like you. I don't care how much evidence you have. If say you're flirting with a girl, you go up to a girl and you can say, hey cunt, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, and I want to be with you. I would treat you better than any man that you would ever like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like going like, hey,
right? Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what are you, fucking stupid? Well, you're the most beautiful girl ever, you fucking idiot. Like,
the thing is you can't cancel these people because it pushes them into the shadows, and that's where they congregate and they come up with more like-minded people. You can't kill them, because if you kill them, chances are they have offspring, and that offspring, whether it's right or wrong, is going to hate you for killing their parents. So the only thing you can do is try to befriend them, as fucked up as it sounds.
And people get mad, but like everything you just said has been seen in history.
Exactly.
It has been seen in history. Like that's happened so many times.
I think the best thing that normal people can do with their social media is like, I kind of try to do this, is like, share either personal stories from people, because that like social media, that's really the best thing is that you could do. Like my boy Chaz Mills, who's down in Atlanta right now, dude. I'm shouting him out because he's my boy that's down there. I was in the Army. He was in Atlanta, man. He got fucking arrested like twice down at the protests over there, and was like telling about like, yeah, they're trying to arrest protesters on anything, and they're holding them over, and they're trying to arrest them when they're leaving the jail. Like, it was putting like this personal experience of like the fucked up stuff that the Atlanta police were doing to protesters down there. Right. That like, that's the best thing you can do. And then also like share like information like that might support your cause. Like, you don't how effective is it to make a status that says like Black Lives Matter, we need to change stuff on my social media, and like just have everybody either reinforce their idea or just like have everybody that doesn't support that idea.
People who scroll past a bunch of those posts every day.
Exactly.
You know, you have to do something that stands out. And like I had I had made a post and I was like about deleting your friends and about different opinions. And this girl messaged me. She screenshotted something that someone else I knew had posted. They shared that Candace Owens video.
Oh God.
Where she completely missed the entire fucking point.
What did Dave Chappelle call her? The most.
He called her something. He's like a vile woman. It's like that vile bitch.
He said her stanky pussy, but he said something. He was like, he's the most eloquent dumbass I've ever seen. Yeah. That's like, he said she's basically
believe what you say because she can talk. She can talk real smart. You know, like. So this dude shared the video, right? And this girl sent me a screenshot. She's like, "How do you expect me to argue with this person? Like, what can I talk? Like, how can I talk to this person?" And I'm like, "All right, I know this dude. You know, he listens to my music. He's supportive." Dude, he like, I know for at least for certain he does not hate me as an individual. You know, I can most likely conclude that. So I'm like, all right, I'll talk to this dude. I'll hear where he's coming from. You know, so I asked him like, what's up? And he's like, bro, I just shared it just you know, opposing viewpoint. I don't agree with everything in the video. Just, you know, like I agree that police brutality is a thing and, you know, racism is an issue. I just, you know, wanted to provide, you know, an opposing viewpoint. And I'm like,
devil's advocate. Yeah.
You know, I'm like that. If I didn't message that dude, like I would have just shut off my avenue of communication. And this is what I told him, bring my point around is because what I got from Candace Owens' video is she's just saying that, you know, Black Lives Matter movement and racism and police brutality is just a false media narrative that we are pushing just to not, admit our own problems. You know, that's what I got from what Candace Owens said. So I messaged him and I'm like, this is where I use my personal, issues. I'm like, okay, so Kevin, at what point at my 4 years at Middle North High School, 3 years at Middle North Middle School, when I heard nigger, porch monkey, and all these jokes, was that a false media narrative? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm like, dude, you've known me for years. I've always been a rational dude. At what point was that fake? Did I make that up? Did I see that? And everybody of color who went to that school, at what point was that not a thing?
See,
what I mean?
I will say before we go to the last time you were on our podcast, you used that word, and a white girl messaged me complaining about how it was offensive to her. That we use slurs.
Oh, shut up.
I was like,
watching this. Shut
I don't think they watch our show anymore.
Oh my God. It's like, oh yeah, no, I wish I didn't hear it when I was standing in the park.
Right, exactly.
I was kind of
I'm sure Dion really enjoyed being called it at school when he's a teenager.
So, I'm glad that offended you. You know,
you should try to imagine how much it offended him, man.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like,
dude, fuck that bitch. But for real, and like, that's something, because he knows me and he knows that he just can't write that off, and to him, and he was like, Dylan, like, I didn't do that to you. And he's like, I wasn't aware. And I'm like, dude, that's a privilege right there. And I didn't even have to say white privilege, because that's something that's going to just turn people off. I'm like, bro, it's a privilege that you weren't aware of that, because I was aware of it. I'm like, go ask every black person there. I'm like, every Hispanic person, they heard it. So I'm like, you know how lucky you are to not be aware of it.
Right.
So then I'm just like, drop microphone. Drop microphone, my God. You know what I mean? And I think if people point out their personal experience, it would definitely help.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially
so
if you keep it to yourself.
Well, we've done like almost an hour and a half, and nobody threw a brick at anybody. So that was positive dialogue.
I'm all about the positive dialogue. I'm all
I think your racist dog came in to try to like.
I'm
she
sure
heard the N word and she was like, "Oh, what?"
I know someone's gonna watch this and think that I'm just a fucking coon against the cause for some reason, even though those all about the change, but I don't hate everything.
And chances are they'll probably be white too.
Probably.
People that are that's the thing is every movement has extremists that will say, you know, like, because I know a lot of people that are libertarian, right? And there's people that are like, yeah, I don't think that, you know, we should be able to sell heroin to 14-year-olds. And the guy that said that got booed by like 2 people. But like, you know, it's like, that's such a small minority of every movement has whack job nutcases that are just
the libertarian guy that says that there shouldn't be age of consent laws. Like,
he's been on our show. So.
Yeah, we talked to him.
He told me, like, I mean, I get what they mean. Because like I will say, I went to school with a bunch of white people, so I definitely would say it makes sense. I have a different opinion than a lot of people because I have experienced racism, you know, and you know, pretty bad forms.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also experienced the other end. Like, I've seen a white teacher give me a better grade than a white student, even though we turned in the same work.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've seen that happen before. I've had like white parents be like, "Why can't you be more like Dylan?"
Yeah.
Kids, you know, I've seen that side too.
That's awesome.
Know? So I have
that thing with the teacher though. It's because I have a comedian friend who had a professor that was kind of like that. That's almost racist in its own way, though, to like elevate the black students, like treat them like they need help. You know what I mean?
Teachers,
like,
white guilt people.
Yes, that's racist in its own way.
I cannot stand the white guilt people. And the thing is, like, I understand that racism is an issue, but to me personally, I'm just like a person like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Ain't nothing gonna stop me, especially not no fucking racism. I don't paint me out to be this scared little black boy that's afraid to leave his fucking house.
Right.
Like, I don't need you apologizing to me for being white, bro. Just don't be racist. Tell other people not to be racist and keep it moving. Like, you don't need to protect me. You know, like I got this shit. Let's just spread positivity, spread knowledge, and we'll be good. Don't apologize for your existence.
I think like the positive or like a more effective use of energy is something like they're like the people that are like the white apologists and everything that are like always talking about like, oh yeah,
I'm so sorry. I'm like,
yeah, I'm so like that. Oh, dude, really what are you gonna do?
Or like the guys that like you see the videos of the people that like the black Hebrew Israelites and the white people will go kiss their boot. I'm like, how does that? What good does that do?
Yeah, what are you like? What are you making how are you making the world better by doing that? Like, there's better things you could do.
Did you see the videos of all those celebrities who are like, it's like the black and white videos? They're like, I am sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
For every unchecked moment. The most forced shit I have ever seen in my entire
it's terrible.
Life. And I'm sure they probably didn't donate a fucking penny.
No. Well, it's like,
go to a march or nothing.
What good is that doing? Someone that's on the fence about this is not going to see that video and go, oh, JoJo Siwa said she's sorry. I'm in. I'm all for it now.
Because JoJo Siwa fucking speaks for an entire race in a country, dude.
She's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
She's pretty powerful.
A 16-year-old girl.
That ponytail has some strength.
I can show you some white people in North Carolina that she does not speak for, actually.
Right.
Oh,
shit. So do you want to plug anything? Music, anything like that?
Honestly, I'm low-key thinking about deleting a lot of my catalog off social media just to promote the evolution of Dion Cobbs. But check me out on Instagram because your boy started doing photography. DYLNCOBBS, even though I barely uploaded pictures on there, but I will. Follow me on Twitter at Dion Cobbs. If you want to be part of the discussion, you feel like you don't know how to have certain conversations with people, feel free to message me. I'm always down to, provide my insight, support Black-owned businesses. That's really a good way to combat this issue that we have. The money does make change. Sign petitions, be vocal, don't be a bystander. It's easier said than done, but you can be part of the change. Even if you weren't at a protest, you just with conversations, you can do it. That's all I say.
That's right.
If you want to argue with us too about your opinions on this, or even with Dion over on his Twitter, go do so.
You fucking idiot.
Be civil. Be civil.
If you're not going to be civil, we're going to call you a dumbass.
Right.
So,
right.
That's about all that
You get so much more done being civil.
Yeah.
Exactly. And don't be like the incels that tried to dox me and threaten to murder me. Like I'm not going to go into detail, but I promise you showing up at my house is the wrong decision. Wrong.
I'll say this.
He just looked at my shit. Don't show up at my house.
I was like, dude, I saw it.
If you guys comment or leave anything on like our YouTube or send us any messages on our Anchor and want to like put points and like have an argument with us or discussion, we'll reply to what you guys are saying.
Yep, and we'll shit on you.
We'll if you guys got some fucking can all be all crush all our points argument, fucking make it, dude, because you heard us on here before. Admit when we're wrong.
Yeah.
I need to be wrong.
That's
you
right.
Better be fucking specific with shit though, because we will fucking dismantle the fuck out
I'm
of
on that ass.
I
am on that ass.
Yeah,
I love to argue. I love to
all three of us.
I am about it. I love it.
All three of us have fucking a lot of practice in it. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm with it. I might be a lawyer at some point. I don't know. I love it so much. I just hate writing. So.
It annoys the fuck out of my wife too, man, because I debate in like the purest form of it on Facebook, man. In fact, I will always say Facebook is the purest form of debate ever, because you have perfect access to research before you actually make a point.
Yeah,
and it's like
no reason to be wrong.
Point, counterpoint, point. You know, it's like structurally.
Really you take your time. You're like, oh
yeah. Well, see,
dude.
Sometimes I'll be into it, like I want to have an intellectual debate on Facebook, and then sometimes people come at me saying stupid shit, and I'm tired or whatever, and I'm like, shut up, you fucking John Stamos impersonator, get the fuck out of here.
Just like I'm like I give the same energy that people give. If they're just like fucking you're fucking dumb, I'll be like, well, you look like a fucking tater tot.
Like you look like you got arrested for leaving your kids in the hot car at Burger King.
I come at people so calm. So the dude who was coming after me, saying you're putting all this. I was like, because he does a lot, I wasn't going to discredit who he was. I'm like, bro, you do stuff for the community, you do stuff for music. So I'm like, bro, I'm not going to sit here and say you're not shit,
Right.
You're not a bad dude. And I was like, bro, like, I don't see why you're mad. Like, we're all fighting for the same thing. And this dude was going off on me, this saying, like, form it, this saying a bunch of shit. And eventually, because people will realize, they're like, damn, like, I'm just being the
asshole. People can read those comments on Facebook and be like, dude, this guy is like completely unhinged, man. He's like he's just getting mad. Like sometimes it's fun with those guys to just like egg him on and be like, what are you talking about, man? Like I explain yourself.
He had some valid he had valid.
Everyone does. Everyone has valid points. For sure.
It's like, I'm like, yeah, bro. I'm like, that shit happened to me, bro. Like, I might be saying that. Like, I see where you're coming from, bro. I ain't mad at you, dog. I ain't mad at you.
All right. Should we call it? It's always a pleasure, friend. Thanks for coming on.
I love being on here.
Always a pleasure. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
All right. Peace out, y'all.
Red Circuses. Deuces, guys.